Okay, and speaking of influencers, see my transitions today are on point. Um, I'm sure at this point we all heard about one how with the current administration, one of the emphasis that they are on is cutting back on immigration, and we also may or may not have heard about this relatively famous brother that was a I don't want to say victim, but he experienced the ramifications or the implications of the harsher stance on immigration and deportations, as it will. And I was talking about beforehand, but even before we get to this brother must be in the top on the top 10 list of people that everybody knows their face, but I don't think many people know their name. But I think I knew it. I heard his name in passing, but I don't know if I ever actually said his name out loud. And I don't know if I'm saying his name is right or now. Uh, Khaby Lame? What did you say it was probably was?
Lame, but I'm not sure. So don't quote me.
Anyway, this brother. The infamous not infamous. Infamous sounds too cool to be have a negative connotation. But yes, that brother. He not too long ago got deported. Um I don't know where he's originally from. I probably should have looked that up. Somebody pull that up. Where's his brother originally from?
Italy,
Uh,
I believe.
got you. So yeah, he was recently deported, and I don't even know the crazy part. He could have obviously through him being in the states, he got to meet literally like a bunch of. I know he ended up meeting Will Smith and Dwayne Drock Johnson, and amongst other incredibly huge stars and superstars. So obviously, his stay here led to a boon in his fame and success. But I feel as if he's just gonna make that pose after all these things are obvious, he could have just stayed in his own native land. But anyway, what you may or may not have known is, this influencer, Loudon, claims he had a role in the viral TikTok star Khaby's deportation. Let's hear what he has to say.
Actually played a role in that deportation.
Yes, I had some buddies who work closely with him, several major contracts and things. They were all telling me that there's several red flags with this guy. He admitted that he was in the country illegally on an expired visa and entered the country like 49 times. And so I just flagged it to a buddy of mine in the administration at Homeland Security. And next thing you know, they gave him till June 1st to self-deport, but he didn't do that. So he ended up getting physically deported, removed from the Las Vegas airport on June 6th.
I saw that. He was in Vegas where I'm at.
Yep, he was heading to Miami for an event, but he wasn't able to make it. I got a lot of hate and a lot of backlash and death threats and that kind of thing. But, I noticed a lot of people were like, hey, thank you, because I came to this country legally. It was a long and excruciating process, and I'm really glad that you're looking out for the little guys. We have a celebrity that's abusing his celebrity status to break our laws. We can't do that.
Okay, so you have this brother explaining how he did the literal "if you see say something, say something." He heard the grapevine about they're both influencers. What should I call his brother? I want to call him Hands Guy. I'll call him KL. He heard about KL situation, and he has some of his contacts with literal and literal. It sounds like you're talking about Homeland Security. He made a couple calls, and that may or may not have some influence on a little pressure being applied to looking into this brother. And obviously, when you're famous, I feel as if you're already going to be more eyes on you. So that part where he said he was using his fame to bypass things, I don't know. Although when you are famous and you have a lot of clout, there's other visas that you can get on um, to get
Exactly.
to. Say again.
No, I said exactly.
So I don't know about that point. And also, I'm not being super serious, but it might just be. But even though I was gonna say, he's expressing, he did it because he felt an injustice is being done, and he raises this alleged example of other people thanking him for doing this. But I don't know, my bigot detector, it's not going off, but it's don't know. It's alerted. Anyway, but I mean, the question simply becomes, there's actually a story going around. I think I wanted to talk about it, but we didn't get to it, or maybe I lost interest. They were allegedly going to do a thing. Maybe they didn't even do it. Maybe that's why it never manifested to a real thing. Where they were going to offer like $1,000, or maybe it was like $700. They're going to offer some amounts of money for anybody that has the information. If they had the low on any illegal immigrants, which I don't know if that was per person or if that was a one-time thing. But anyway, basically, unless you're living under a rock, one of the things that this administration planned to do and is doing their best or hardest to do, even if it means literally causing civil unrest, is get illegal immigrants out of here. And I'm curious. Well, I don't want to get into a whole political thing. I am curious to know what you guys think.
Pure political.
Wrong. I am interested to know what you guys think of. Is there anything? Because it could be funny. Is there anything that would ever compel you guys, any of you, to have a hand in getting somebody deported, or are y'all really see no evil, hear no evil, do no evil, which you just would never snitch on somebody in that circumstance? And also, just to get out the obvious answers out the way, outside of somebody that's a literal terrorist, murderer, committing violent crimes, SA, robbery, nothing super illegal. They're just here illegally. Is there anything that would ever compel y'all? Or y'all not snitching? I guess we'll start with the... I don't want to make... How many jokes do I want to make? A person that can really relate in some circumstance. Wes, what do you think?
You already excluded the reasons that I would try to get somebody or could try to get somebody deported.
Yeah, outside of like the harsh stuff, like they didn't do anything.
Me, my family, or even the community, like, they gotta go, because that is one way to like actually remove the problem. If there's a risk to people's health or people's lives. But other than that, no criminal activity, even if they're just an annoying person. No, I'm not going to interfere in that, because I don't know people's lives. I don't know what they got going on. I don't know none of that. And I'm going to just inject myself into the situation to get somebody out of a country. No, it's not my responsibility.
What about with this quote unquote MAGA influencer? I don't even know what that means. MAGA influencer saying, what about if you acknowledge the fact that some people are going through the full legal route, and that's a pretty extenuating process? Would you feel compelled to the ones that are doing it not by the books, get them out of here?
That don't have nothing to do with me. Yes, it sucks. I'll admit the legal route can be very annoying, but that doesn't have anything to do with me. That somebody else is deciding to not go the legal route. It's just I know they're likely going to get caught at some point, or they're going to figure out how to get their situation regulated. Either way, that doesn't have anything to do with me.
Well, I mean, if you believe if you believe they'll get caught at some point, why wouldn't you give them the government helping hand?
No, because I don't know what that person is going through. Like, they could be here to be reunited with somebody in their family, or they could be wherever they are to be. Yeah, somebody could be in poor health. They could be just trying to stay out a visit as long as they can. But
legal is illegal.
Yes, but that's not my business. The only argument that can kind of work is that for people who are trying to do it legally, potentially having people get through the system illegally, whatever, could make it harder for people to get or to stay legal or to be legal in the future, because they try to tighten things up and do all this stuff and make you get paperwork from when you were a child and all this stuff that is hard to get. And it could potentially make it harder down the road in terms of the grand system of immigration. And that's the best argument that people have, but I'm not I can't be on that side where I'm just trying to get people in trouble and move down. Because like you also have people who might be on visas or whatever, and they don't know they're not from they only know, let's say, the U.S. or wherever we are in the situation. They've been in the U.S. since they were really young, and they've had valid visas, and at a certain point they had to overstay or they didn't get renewed or whatever. For them to go back to wherever their nationality or their citizenship is to go to a country that they never really knew.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have no idea what this person is like. Like you could be taking a person out of what they actually physically call home, like because of what? Because you think you know something about their situation. Like there's a lot of dynamics that are at play.
Okay, that makes sense. I will say, would you say you're looking at that from more of like a, because you we could provide some examples of like it just makes sense why they would be here, even though technically they shouldn't be allowed to. Are you looking at more like on like an empathy standpoint, or relatively like pragmatic or objective?
Yeah, I mean, it does have to do with empathy. It has to do with yeah, being a good human, like
Well, good
because
good human is relative because this guy would say you're being a bad human by not saying something.
no, because I think unless you're gonna know this person's life from A to Z, you don't know the human component of the thing. Now, if you want to say like I said, if you know, as what I said, if there's any criminal activity or whatever, things like that, and you think there's a safety issue, whatever, I get it. I'm not against
Well,
anybody who's
actually, you can
arguing
make the
from that
case
side.
that being illegal is criminal activity.
Other criminal activity where you might harm yourself or yourself, where you might harm others, primarily. Um, I can say even maybe financial, because if you're trying to defraud a small business or whatever, that's you're messing up people's livelihoods. So I could say I could say even maybe to that extent, if you know that this person is in shady business dealings or whatever that, and it's on the financial aspect of things or they're stealing stuff or whatever, I can understand that. But once you go beyond that, once you're just looking at a person and you have no reproach except for that they're here illegally or they have an expired visa or whatever. I don't think that's personally. I don't think that's my business.
Yeah, I get it. How about yourself, Ghost? I can already probably hazard a guess that you're the mind your business type as well. But as it pertains to this matter, uh, is there any reason outside of again the dangerous criminal activity type of reasons that you would feel compelled to play a part in getting somebody out of here, or are you really on that? My name is Paul, and that's between y'all type stuff.
Yeah, outside of circumstances you mentioned, I could not, under any circumstance, ever see myself going to report someone for being here illegally. I the thing I find funniest about these types of what I don't know what the hell he's calling MAGA influencer, these type of people that are on this type of timing, is that oftentimes they're the same type of people that don't want the government in their business and saying the government's doing too much, this, and that. And then now on the flip side, it's purely for self-serving reasons why they want X and they don't want Y. And that's where the real hypocrisy for me comes in. And I find people that make this type of behavior like their personality or they co-sign it, it's really distasteful to me. And I'm saying this from like a human empathy standpoint, like objectively, sure, there's people that go through the full process, that they aren't afforded the luxury of being here illegally when other people have gone through the process are facing difficulties. But again, there's 50 million reasons and circumstances why people would have difficulty doing things the quote unquote right way. Like just speaking from what Wes has gone through, granted it's a different country, but a lot of hoops to jump through that are very difficult, and many people would not have the capacity to handle everything they need to get handled. And I just, even beyond like it's not my business, which is a pretty good reason for me, it's just like I'm not going to purposely destroy someone's life for what ends up being self-serving reasons because they don't want. If we're being real, it's because they don't want anyone that's not like them in the country. That's what it real boils down to, in my opinion. And there's a whole lot of justifications that people come with, and like his whole bullshit about the little guy reached out to him. Yeah, I don't want to hear that. It's it's for self-serving reasons. What those reasons are, I can speculate. It can very heavily speculate, but it kind of doesn't matter for me. Like, I'm never going to be one to be on that type of timing and actively go out of my way to screw someone over, unless again there's very justifiable reasons.
I get it. It's kind of funny. You do kind of make it a tad bit political, the way he was saying.
There's no way this can't be a political.
I was thinking, what comes to mind when you say that is, and I forget if you said it to us, like, no, yeah, I don't think you did, but it pertains to like the notion that it's for self-serving reasons. The kind of tricky part about that is that, like, you could make a case that we all, like, everything that we do is for a quote unquote self-serving reason. Like, if in theory, like for this brother, for example, not to focus on it specifically, they would make the case that one, it wasn't too self-serving because at the end of the day, this guy has nothing to do with them. But at the end of the day, like, if you feel compelled to do something because it'll quote unquote help another person that's doing it, or make it so everyone's at least doing it the legal way, then at the end of the day, you are still kind of doing you're doing a self-service mission to yourself to make sure that everyone's following the rules, or quote unquote. And the other reasons come to mind, like the classic, like South Park, they're taking our jobs type of things, like that wouldn't compel you one way or the other, like, even though
That's been disproven pretty handily. But I mean, you're right in the sense that technically there is justifications for all of this, but realistically, just looking at the context of who these people are and how these people operate, and again, going back to the whole don't infringe upon my rights, blah blah blah, the government, this and that, which a lot of people have problems with the government, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having problems with the government, but just keep that same energy. And oftentimes they don't, and they give justifications for this reason or that reason that are technically true. You can make the argument, but when it comes down to it, they'd be more than fine with looking the other way if it benefited them in some manner, or if it was their family member that was in this scenario situation. I have a very strong feeling that these moral convictions that they seem so keen on upholding would go right out the window.
Yeah,
which is, again, kind of how humans operate, but it still doesn't mean it's justified.
Yeah, it's actually good that you bring that up, because that kind of feeds into what you were saying before about how, like, dang it, it's kind of slipping my mind. But one, the hypocrisy in things. And two, dang, kind of amazed me because, like, the last point you made. But yeah, obviously, as it pertains to if this was, if they had a closer sentimental value to these, if someone has a closer sentimental value to these things, they're less likely to, treat someone the same, or treat somebody in that manner. Yeah, there's not too much to contend with. But last but not least, Ace, what do you think? Could you fathom or imagine anything that would compel you to play a hand in getting somebody up out of here? Or it's just none of your business and you're not snitching?
Yeah, I can't really fathom it. Just to bring a slightly different angle, I kind of would consider it the same as calling the police, where it's like that's something it would take a lot for me to do, just because once you involve any type of authority figure outside of your own, or outside of yourself, the situation can get out of hand. It could become something that you never intended, very quickly. So it's not my job to. I don't work for ICE. It's not my job to look for
But
people
it's
to
but what
start.
if what if they start pushing the propaganda or the narrative that it's your civil duty to make sure that our land is our land only.
And deport me. Like, it's not a duty that I'm accepting.
You might get the word for the joke of the day. That's funny. Um, okay, so you're not rolling with any notion of like since some people are doing it the legal way, that everybody should be doing it the legal way. None of that, and there are some negatives. Overpopulation or whatever other weak argument they try to bring.
Nah, I mean, I'm not gonna just like. I'm not gonna be to take a moral high ground or anything like that. This is. It kind of just applies to me, and it's. I mean, it's mostly my opinion based on um, just what I feel regarding immigration and deportation. But I won't let somebody much more well researched or whatever could come with a more compelling argument for doing it. Um, but yeah, I couldn't bring myself to do it. I don't see it. Comparing other people having to do it the legal way versus not. Again, I think that gets to Wes's point about, well, we don't know this person's circumstances anyway, and I mean, sure, there's ways of finding out, but again, that's where it gets out of my hand. I'm not going to be doing all this research and stuff into people's background to know whatever situation they're either running from or trying to maintain here. Like, nah, nah, nah.
I already forgot who said it, but what if it is that line of it's nothing they're doing is criminal, but they are annoying because now I think about it, there probably were some people that didn't like this guy and the fact that he's popular just because he does the silent hand gesture. What if you got it? What if you had a chance to get Drake out of here?
No,
Drake.
no, people are just
Odd
salty.
example.
Like that's the. But they're not. They're not. People aren't. Look at this dude. People are not questioning the white European actors and all these people. I feel like people aren't scrutinizing. Oh, did you overstay your visa? Are you still on? There's something going on with the reason that this guy targeted this guy. Like
It's
I don't think.
racial. It's
Yeah, it's not.
that's
It's not.
I mean, I don't like to throw out
It's not hidden.
somebody's card.
No,
Like I
no,
said,
no, 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 no,
my
no,
detector is
no.
not fully blaring.
Why? I mean, okay, maybe he said, okay, the first thing that happened is that he heard that that was the case, that the guy overstayed his visa, and then he looked into it. All right, whatever. But at the end of the day, like you said earlier, there's other ways to enter the country if you have money. You invest X amount of dollars in the country and you get a visa. Like you get these type of things.
I actually didn't know that.
You get permission. Yeah, you can there's different rules and things that you can do, or you can apply for you can be an artist visa, you could come on an artist visa or whatever, and you can renew these things. Italy, if he's really from Italy, he probably already had 3 months of tourist visa. Like, there's a whole bunch of ways you can come to the country. So, like, you deporting him now, okay, maybe there's implications because of the number of times he's done it or whatever. But at the end of the day, if he really wants to come back, there's probably a way for him to do it
Yeah,
with them on a
he'll be
visa.
back. That's the crazy.
So,
On this specific matter, He'll be back. It's not even that
Yeah,
crazy.
going after him, I guess maybe they're trying to set an example, and maybe that's a valid argument. But like, are you applying this equally across the board? And does it really make sense? If you're a vigilante that's going out and seeking out, okay, I'm gonna figure out if this person had a criminal record in this country, and then I'm gonna try to get this person deported. Go for it. I have no problem with that because, as I said, it
Being
can
the
be a quick
fat
way
man
to
of immigration
resolve
is crazy.
issues. But it can be a quick way to resolve issues or take them out of the context that they shouldn't have even been in the first place. But other than that, it's just weird. It's just weird.
Fair enough. I don't know. For this story, the moral of the story is kind of, I mean, more than usual, subjective based off where you stand on these matters, and it can easily get pretty politically charged pretty quickly. So I won't even linger on it too much. But I do think, one, when you're looking at these circumstances, like we've been talking about, you should look at, some level of, even if it's not full empathetically, like at the end of the day, like you don't got to be in people's business. And I think I don't know, it's just so weird how like that's like a cultural thing almost. Like some people just grow up to not be in people's business, and that's not to say you just literally like turn a blind eye at every single circumstance that's happening, even though some of us might take it to the extreme further than others. But you don't gotta be like, if they're not actually causing a harm to the community, like you don't gotta be in people's business. I don't know. That's just maybe I sound like a old auntie or old mom that's like just imparting this saying to their kids or their nieces and nephews. But I don't know. It's just that's just where I stand on it. You don't gotta be in people's business. But yeah, obviously some people feel completely different, and they would say that it is their business who all is in the country or who all is in their territory. We're not going to go there. At least not now. Maybe one day we'll go straight straight politics. There's a lot of money in that, Although you gotta not sell your soul, but you gotta be ready for all that comes with it. Anyway,
Plus, you said you didn't know what MAGA meant. MAGA influencer.
no, I didn't. Obviously, I know what a MAGA is. I've never heard of the
Okay.
term MAGA influencer. Like
Oh,
that, it's. I don't know. Maybe that is kind of. Were you gonna follow up on that? Because I mean, you could get that. That kind of gets to the conversation of like what when you think of an influencer, what do you think of? Like, does influencer have to have certain like it denotes something? Can you just be an influencer? Like, do you have to be
Beauty
a yeah,
influencer.
beauty influencer, a travel influencer? Like,
Yeah.
can you just be a raw influencer? Do you have to be attached to something? I don't know.
I would just assume it was like the person is a vocal Trump supporter, and they happen to be an influencer. Maybe it doesn't necessarily indicate that that's all their content is about, but I would assume that a lot of it probably is, or at least that's their political stance that they are vocal about.
Yeah. Man, at the end of the day, I'm just all I say. It just sounds corny to me. If it has to something to the effect of like Republican influencer or conservative influencer, like I've heard that, and that I can easily establish like what their content is and what they put out into the internet. But MAGA influencer, that sounds or at the end of the podcast, so it sounds like a dick sucker. To be honest with you, but regardless, if there's nothing else, we can move on.